Hey, if you're dating, got a question for you. Do you guard your heart or do you put up walls? Hi, I'm Savannah Taylor, and welcome back to the Alabaster Box, where my passion is to help you reach your relationship goals with your truth, your worth, and your best. So what's the difference between guarding your heart and putting up walls? If you're familiar with scripture, there is a familiar proverb which talks about guarding our hearts and to do it diligently because out of it flows our issues. But you know what? Walls aren't always a bad thing either. And I know some of you are probably surprised to hear me say that. But in this video, I'm going to talk about the difference between guarding your heart and putting up walls and when it's appropriate to use them. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. So when I was a young single woman, and I can say that because I'll be 50 this coming April. So many years ago when I was single, I read this book called Knight in Shining Armor by P.B. Wilson. If you want to check it out, I put a link down in the description below. But this book was very pivotal for me in my young adult life. It really shaped how I lived and how I went about my relationships. There was one part in this book that was really, really key for me because it talked about giving an example of when you're walking down a city street and you see all these buildings, these pretty buildings and skyscrapers. And then you come on this one part on the sidewalk where there's this big old banner that says under construction, and it's a big old fence. You can't see over it. You can't see around it. You can't see nothing because they're working on something back there. And that's when walls or fences are very important and can be productive. It's not that you're being antisocial or you're trying to keep people at a distance because of fear, but you're working on something so that when that person does come into your life who's really got it going on, you have something to bring to the table too. So in that sense, walls or fences can be very productive. Now, when all of that comes down and you're ready to take in and you're ready to receive, you're not ready to take in and receive anything, right? You don't want to have done all that work just for somebody with some super game to come along and ruin it all because you weren't ready, right? So it's important at this point to learn how to guard your heart. Guarding your heart is so important. Why? Because the heart comes first. What do I mean by that? Your heart is a reflection of all that stuff that's going on inside, your thoughts, your motives. And you may think you can hide these things pretty well, but I promise you, game always recognizes game. And on the other hand, light always recognizes light. And I'll give you an example. Have you ever met someone and they look really good and you're ready and you're talking to them and then they open their mouth and start talking? They could be saying all the right things, but there's something, can't really put your finger on it, but they're not for you. And that's what I'm talking about. The lesson here, the things that we take in and that we allow to get inside of us, they then become a reflection and people can see if you're still bitter, if you're still going through something, if you're still hurt, if you still got baggage, it shows. I'm telling you, it shows. So the lesson here is that's why it's so important to guard your heart. Learning to guard your heart is vital if you want to attract a healthy relationship, because you don't want that other person who wants what you want, right? But then they see your issues and then they keep it moving because they've done the work and they ain't trying to mess it up, right? So learn to guard your heart. And if you do need to build walls, absolutely handle that. But at the same time, remember, both have a place and time. Hey, if you've gotten any value out of this video, please click the like button and subscribe. You can also hit the bell in case you want to be notified so you don't miss any of my videos. And if you like what you've heard here today, there is so much more where this came from in my book, He Who Finds a Wife: Biblical Principles for the Believing Woman Who Dates. It's available on Amazon, and I've included a link down in the description for this video. But before you go, question for you. What do you think of this topic? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. I also have a whole Facebook community at Savannah's Alabaster Box, and you can also find me on Instagram. Until then, live your truth, live your worth, live your best, guard that heart, and I'll check you next time when we see what's inside the Alabaster Box. Bye.